Hey everyone, welcome back to the second installment of our video interviews. We've been interviewing entrepreneurs of color to hear how they built their business. And today we're excited to have Daniela of Daniela's Kitchen. She's been on Master Chef. She's won a couple awards through competitions, and she's doing amazing things. She's working out of her house, but she's working her butt off to be successful in the baking industry and be innovative in that space. So we're excited to hear her journey, how she built her company, what struggles she went through. So I hope you enjoy the episode. Hope you get a lot out of it. If you want to follow us on Instagram at BuildMyCanasta, please do so. But here's the episode. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much. Hey everyone, we have Daniela here with Daniela's Kitchen. She's been the owner of Daniela's Kitchens for almost 3 years, and they specialize in making cupcakes, concha sandwiches, and anything you can imagine from a dessert menu. So thank you for joining us, and
thank you for having
we're
me.
excited to hear your story and how you built your company. So to start, can you just walk us through your background, like where you're from, your family life, growing up, stuff like that?
So I was born in Tijuana, Baja California, raised in San Isidro. I've been living in Chula Vista since 2005. I used to work at a hospital as a kidney transplant care coordinator, and then in 2016 I opened Daniela's Kitchen, so we're going on 3 years.
Cool. And could you tell us more about like how you made the jump from being in a hospital to wanting to do desserts and open up a kitchen or you know, stuff like that?
So I've always had a love for food, as you could tell. I love eating, I love cooking, I love anything that has to do with food, because food just brings happiness. So I used to work at a very stressful job, and I would bake to distress. So I would take desserts to my coworkers, make them fat, and little by little I started getting really good. So I started baking out of a box, and then all of a sudden I got good, and I noticed that that's where like my passion was. And in 2015 I was accepted for Master Chef. I made it to the top 80. When I came back, I was like, you know what, life's too short. I'm gonna open my own business and see how it goes.
Awesome. Yeah, so I know you talked about Master Chef. You're also on a couple other competitions. How did you know to do those things as a, you know, as not a natural person going through entrepreneurship? You kind of have to find things to be resourceful. How did you find those opportunities for yourself?
So for Master Chef, it was online on Facebook. So I just applied and took the steps from there. And then the way I got into Spring Baking Championship, one of the producers from the show, the casting producers, she had me on Facebook, and when she posted that, I sent her a message, and that's how I made it to the Food Network.
So you weren't scared that they were gonna reject you, or you weren't fearful of, you know? I mean, well, like some people, like, I don't know, did you do a lot of like testing of your product before you did that? Were you comfortable enough to just be like, yeah, I have a really good product, you know, this tastes hella good, and then you're like, yeah, I feel confident in applying?
I was confident because I knew that everyone that tried my stuff liked it. Yeah. So I was like, you know what, I have nothing to lose. Basically, it's like, if you're scared, you're not gonna move forward. Right. Like, you always have to do that jump. And is it scary? Of course it is. But I always life is too short. What's the worst that they could say? No? Oh, yeah. Well, at least I tried.
Well, so because I guess being a person of color and going through entrepreneurship, right? I mean, we're hard workers naturally. We see our parents, you know, kind of putting everything by hand and, you know, building things from nothing and really hustling to do that. So was that something that like you feel was an advantage over other people who might be doing something similar to you? Because for me, I guess, you know, being a person of color, it comes with more fear of failure. Like, I don't want to go back to, you know, what my mom was used to in Guatemala. You know, I want to make a better life. Was that something that like you were thinking about, that came across when you were, you know,
to be honest, that's never a fear. I mean, it's always in the back of your mind, but I never use it as a form to scare me or hold me back.
Right.
Like, I know that what I do is good. I know that people like it. So I'm always like, go for it. That's the thing. Like, I always just have to go for it.
Right. So it's all about execution, right?
And just do it. Yeah. So it's like a lot of people I see is like, I want to do this. How are you going to get there?
Yeah.
Set a plan. get there. Like,
Yeah.
don't just say I want to, because years fly by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could say something, give yourself a goal, and follow, and start with small goals.
Yeah.
Like that, you feel like you check it off and then move on to the next
Yeah.
one.
So you said you started baking out of a box, right? You weren't baking it from scratch
No.
yet. How did you get those skills? Like, did you just like trial and error?
Trial,
You know?
a lot of trial and error. A lot of it. Sorry, I gotta stop because I feel like I'm fidgeting with my hair way too much. So
Yes.
how did I learn? How
Yeah,
did I go
you
from
were
a box?
baking from a box, and you started baking from scratch, and then that was all trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have people taste your stuff?
Oh yeah, of course.
All the time?
Yes.
Friends,
and
family?
Still now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like I could make the exact same recipe 50 million times and it's always going to taste different for some reason. So you always have to taste your product.
Yeah.
So when someone says, I don't need my baked goods, or like when a baker says that they don't need their own baked goods, I'm like, what? That's how they're skinny, because I eat everything. Sometimes I eat way too much. But yeah, basically I started baking out of a box. And then little by little, I was like, well, if I could do this, now let me try it, to go. But I'm always challenging myself.
Yeah.
I get bored very easily.
Right.
So I always have to like switch it up. And
So what type of stuff did you do to differentiate yourself? There's a bunch of dessert places, right? There's some popping up, every so often. And how do you stay ahead of the competition, or like how do you be innovative in your space?
That's the thing. There is a lot of bakeries, and there is a lot of people that will copy. I'm gonna say that, but I don't focus on that because I know what I started and I know what I'm good at. So that's it. But basically, the way I started, I was doing booze. So my very first cupcake was tequila lime.
Oh,
the second
nice.
one was vodka berry. So that's how I started going. And then from there, I started saying like, well, I like arroz con leche. Let me turn that into a cupcake. Or I like bacon. Ooh, let's do a maple bacon. So for me, it's like, I don't worry about what anyone else is doing. I wish them all well. Let me just focus on what Daniela's doing.
Yeah.
And that is it. And be consistent. And your product, like, you have to give it 150% all the time.
So was that just inspired? So I guess it's like the taste that you grew up around, right? Arroz con leche,
They're all Mexican inspired.
Yeah, that's cool. And I'm sure it's pretty receptive. So that's your differentiator. How did you, I guess, not having a business background, right? Like you weren't an MBA, you weren't, didn't go through
high school, some college.
So how did that impact like how you did in your business? Did it affect you at all? Like were you just like, obviously it didn't, like you're successful in what you're doing.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm all about school.
Yeah.
Everybody should go to school. Unfortunately, school was not for me. Do I struggle? Yes. My spelling is horrible. And even though I use spell check, there's still some that my friends are like, that's wrong. I was like, you know what I mean? So that's a struggle. However, I am very driven and hardworking, and I feel that worked, that worked for me. And then what I do is like a form of art. So thankfully, it was just a lot of, once again, trial and error is what you guys are going to hear throughout the entire thing. It was trial and error. I had no clue what I was doing, but I knew that I had a vision and what I wanted, and my goal is to get there.
Yeah.
That was my thing. So it was like, I Pinterest a lot of stuff, like with businesses, and then I, figured out how to do invoicing and stuff like that.
So what is the biggest struggle that you face so far in your business?
The biggest struggle, not having a storefront. That's a struggle, because some people would be like, hey, we want to stop by and have a cupcake. Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
I'm at home.
Yeah. Do you want to meet at Starbucks?
Yeah.
That's probably my biggest struggle, and hopefully I will get there. That would be it, because I really want to I want a storefront so bad, but unfortunately right now it's not.
Yeah, and you're a mom, right? So was that difficult for you to go from the hospital into, baking and trying to make this a business? Was that difficult? Were you scared at all? Obviously you talk about not being fearful at all and just taking
I'm very fearful.
So,
come on, I'm very chronic.
But
I like control.
So was that something that made you hesitate a little bit?
Yes and no. So at first, having a steady paycheck, having great benefits, I was like, oh my gosh, okay. Thankfully, my son was older then, so it wasn't like I had like a newborn or anything like that. So at the same time, I was like, I need to show him that if you set your mind to it, anything is possible.
Yeah.
If you have dreams, they will happen. I mean, it wasn't what I thought I wanted to be fresh out of high school. So for me, it's like it takes time to know what you want to do, but it's never too late to start.
Yeah.
And I feel that that's what he saw in it. And
Yeah.
that
Now-
was like a big, like even more motivation for me.
Yeah. So that now you're a strong woman role model for him, right?
Well, I
So-
would think so, but I'm still not cool enough. So, whatever.
Did you have anybody in your family? Was anybody in your family an entrepreneur before you?
So my grandma owned a salon. My mom owned a salon, the beauty salon. So yeah, in that sense. But I was never. My mom was like your typical Mexican mom. You cannot go to the work when I'm working. Like you stay at home. So I would just go to the salon to get my haircuts.
Yeah.
But I was never around it. I never knew how it happened
Right.
until I was like, oh my God, my mom was an entrepreneur as well.
So so you didn't grow up and like in high school you were like, I want to start my own business.
No,
When did that happen for you?
when I was baking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so in what, almost 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, other than that, like I went from wanting to be a cop to wanting to be a teacher to wanting to be a social worker, everything.
Yeah.
I'm a baker.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's like I had no clue what I wanted to be.
Yeah. What was that light bulb moment then? Like, I mean, it had to be something where you were like, everybody loves my cupcakes, or, you know, one person in particular.
Everybody loved my cooking. So when I first started Daniela's Kitchen, I was trying to do everything at once: cooking, meal prepping, catering, and baking. That was my first trial and error. I thought I could do it all, and then it was like, oh my gosh, this is way too much.
Yeah.
6 months in, I let all of the cooking aspect go, and I left in the baking.
Yeah.
The reason why is I love cooking for friends and family, but I wasn't passionate like I was with baking, and I could be more creative.
Yeah. So that's what you call a pivot, right? So that's like so in the tech world, a lot of people will pivot into something where they see a lot of people using a
I
feature.
totally think of Friends.
And
Pivot.
and they will, you know, kind of what you did, right? You saw like, okay, well, I'm very successful in this particular piece of my business. I'm going to focus 100% because giving 50% to 2 or 3 different things is not going to yield me the same results.
And that's how you burn out.
Right.
And that's
Oh,
the
that's
thing.
true,
Like
yeah.
some people, they just want to continue to. What's the proper? Probably not gonna have the proper word, but they want to make all the money themselves. And I feel that that's how you burn out. For me, it's like, no, it's not about that. Like, there's also great caterers that I'll refer them to them. I don't love it. So why am I going to be doing something I don't enjoy?
Yeah.
Takes me back to being in the work field. Like, you want to love what you do because you're going to do it for the rest of your life.
Right. I mean, you talk about staying up till 2 in the morning and getting client calls at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're owning a business, you never have a day off.
Yeah.
Like, it's either I'm baking or I'm grocery shopping or I'm writing invoices or I'm responding to emails or I'm prepping or, you know, there's always work.
Yeah.
But there's not a day that I hate it. I mean, when it's like 2-3 days that I haven't slept, I do cry a little bit, but I'm being honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it is hard work, but it's awesome. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
I love what I do.
So being a person of color, not only being a person of color, but being a woman of color, what does that mean to you? Like being a woman of color and being an entrepreneur, what does that mean to you? I mean, that's amazing if you think about it, right?
Yeah,
There's not a lot of
there's-
people who do that, who are of color, who are women, who take a leap and, you know, are mothers and they make something amazing like you have. Does that ever strike you as like, damn, like I'm
No.
doing something great?
No, I mean, like, I know, like, I'm like, thankfully, I thank my customers left and right, and I know sometimes it probably sounds very repetitive, but I think about it, they're my boss. They call the shots. Thanks to them, I'm able to do what I love.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I stay humble, I'm very grateful, and I just, like, I work really, really hard because eventually I do want to own a storefront. But for me, it's not about like, oh, I'm a total badass, look at me this. It's like, no, like, awesome, like, you're making this happen. Like, but remember, something could go wrong.
Yeah.
So it's just stay humble and just do what you do. Don't try to overdo it and don't try to like do more than what you can handle.
Yeah, for sure. So what does Daniela's Kitchen look like in the next 3 years, in the next 5?
Man, I really hope that storefront.
Yeah.
That's my goal. That's been my goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to have an actual storefront where people could come in, enjoy their treats. I could have baking classes for the little ones, for people that want to learn. Like, yeah, like I think about it. It would be an awesome place to just come, hang out, have a great dessert, and have a good time.
Yeah. And I guess not having the storefront, what have you done to kind of make your business move forward? Like, you obviously haven't used it as like, oh, poor me, I don't have a storefront, right? Like, you hustled on Instagram, right? Like, you've hustled and got your name and your brand out there. Was that something that you were like intentionally doing, like building that brand and you know?
Of course, yeah. For me, there's no such thing as poor me because thankfully I have such great support. Like, the customers, they're loyal every year. They come back. Like, I'm telling you, I'm very, very blessed. So no, I don't, my pop-ups. I do monthly pop-ups at different breweries.
Cool.
So I've been to like Border X, Smith, Groundswell, Epic. Like, there's just different breweries. So I go to one once a month. I do beer and cupcake pairings. That's super fun. People at first they're like, beer and cupcakes? I'm like, yeah. So my point is, you grab your cupcake, you take a bite, and that will enhance the taste of the beer. So everybody loves that.
Yeah.
So I do that. And then, every, holiday parties or birthdays or whatever it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how do you make those connections? Do you just walk in, hey, I'm, meet the person who owns the business, and like, what does that networking look like?
I'm not
for
gonna
you?
lie, at the beginning, I sent a good 30 breweries emails telling them about beer and cupcake pairing. Kid you not, only 3 got back to me. It was kind of hard because they went to my social media and I had like 70 followers. And it was like, yeah, sure, you're not known. Yeah. The very first one to give me a shot was Border X.
That's awesome.
So I'm like forever grateful to them because thanks to them, I was able to open up to different breweries. And then people started getting to know me, and now I'm known as a beer and cupcake pairing. But yeah, it was hard. Like, not everyone would return like my email. So it was emails, and then little by little I got comfortable to actually show up and be like, hey, I'm interested in doing this. Here are some cupcakes and some flyers.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, some people won't send out 30. Like, I remember hearing somebody say, oh, I have a product, I called 10 people and everybody said no, and then they stopped doing what they were doing. What gives you that motivation to keep pushing, to keep being stubborn, to be,
I'm very stubborn. This is the thing. If it were easy, everyone would do it.
Right.
So nothing in life that's worth it comes easy. So I feel that a lot of people think it's going to be like, oh, I want it, lay down for me, ready to go. It's not going to happen like that. You literally have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're consistent and you keep going, there you go. That's going to be your number one, because they know that you're going to follow through. Like, they know that you're consistent and that you're really passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know. I think that people do want the playbook, right? People want to say, okay, I'm going to do step 1, step 2, step 3, but something between step 3 and 4 happens and you're going off a different path.
Sometimes it's awesome. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, this is easy. Here it goes, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, bam, you crash. And you're like, what the hell? I was going up that ladder perfectly.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
And I kid you not, there's days that I cried and I was like, I don't know if I could do this anymore. But then I wake up the next day and I was like, okay, I had a bad day. That is it. You move on and you keep going.
Yeah, you look at the long term.
Exactly. And then I remember I still do to this day, I save all of the positive comments, all of the nice emails, all of the letters or cards that customers send me, thank you letters. They're all up on my board. And every time I'm having a bad day, I go and I read them and I'm like, this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have your rough days. It's life. It's
right.
normal. And it's still hard now. Like, it's not easy. But that's the thing, like, you just have to move. And I remember one of my biggest things was like, oh, I want everyone to love my cupcakes. But then I learned that you could be the sweetest peach in this world and someone's not gonna like peaches. And it is okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's totally fine.
So now you take feedback probably with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah, and I'm always open to feedback because I'm learning. And for me, feedback is only gonna help me grow. So
right.
I don't get all, like, if someone says your frosting's too sweet, I'm so sorry. I mean, it's sugar and butter. Like, I don't know how to not make it. And you know what I mean? Like, it's okay. Like, I could be like, well, try this other bakery.
Yeah.
Or like when they say, do you do vegan? I could probably do it, but I'm not passionate about it. However, here's a list of wonderful vegan bakers.
Right.
Because they're passionate about it. Here, let me help you as well grow your bakery.
Right.
Like, it's all good.
Yeah. That's awesome. And So going back, looking at what you've been through as an entrepreneur, what advice would you give somebody who is wanting to be an entrepreneur, to take a leap or to start having a side hustle or something like that? What is your number one advice for somebody who wants to do that?
Oh, I totally forgot about that. Let me backtrack. So in 2012, I was doing baking on the side and still working at the hospital. I did that for 6 months. Kid you not, I was not sleeping. It was so hard for me. So I would come home, work, bake, and then the next day. That didn't work for me. So my biggest advice is you can't half-ass both. However, I did have a husband who was very supportive, so he had a job that I was able to quit mine and then, do that. My thing is, don't quit. It's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be worth it. And keep it simple, stupid. And be consistent. And always, always, always remember, focus on what you are doing, not what everyone else. Don't try to copy other people. Just focus on your idea, what you have, and get it out there.
Yeah. No, that's good, because I think it's a recurring theme. Like, you don't want to get a template, right? There is no template. There is, like, something that worked for somebody else. It might have been perfect timing. It might have been the different audience. It's totally different for every single person. So it definitely, I love that acronym. Definitely keeping it simple is the way to go.
That is the way to go, because when you try to do more, that's when it's like, it just doesn't work. Like, Another thing, I have a girl, Olivia. She does beautiful fondant work. I hate fondant because I'm not a patient person. So it's great. Like, it works out. I do all the baking, the decorating. She gets there. The baking and frosting, and she gets there and she decorates it. She loves what she does. I love what I do, and
Perfect.
The customer loves their dessert.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So you have a team. Do you have a team? No.
2 people.
Two
well,
people.
myself and Olivia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you figure out that Olivia would be like a good match for you? Was that like your best friend? Was
no.
it, somebody you met randomly?
My best friend, Jessica, she actually would help me do the fondant work when I first started, but then it wasn't for her. Like, she enjoyed it, but after a while it wasn't becoming like something she liked. Olivia, I met her at my viewing party for when I was in the Spring Baking Championship. She went with her husband and her kids, and her husband told me about her. I saw her work, and that's how it happened.
Oh, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some people don't really know how to build teams, right? I think that's a big piece of advice too, is like, sometimes you can't go at it alone, right? You need people to get feedback from. You need people who, will offset some of your, weaknesses, or, will add value to what your product is.
And at the beginning, you might have to start alone because you can't pay. Like,
Right.
I remember at the beginning, all of my friends would help me do events for free.
Yeah.
Like, they've all been amazing in that sense.
Yeah.
And little by little, I could start paying, and then Olivia came along, and that's a totally different story. But at the beginning, it's a lot of free work, or
So you're
volunteering.
getting like whoever's willing and
whoever
able.
was willing to help me. Yeah, like, hey, I'm gonna be, or who could work for hours? Oh, I can. Perfect. Thank you. So my friends have been great, and their families as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. Well, thank you for sitting down and talking to us.
No, it's been great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. Love your story. So
Awesome. Thank you.